Welcome, friends. For tonight's class, we'll probably use a strap a little later on. Don't need it right away, but you'll want to have one handy at some point. And then let's go ahead and lay back onto the mat, starting in our constructive rest, just laying here with the legs bent, unless you prefer straight. Perhaps tuck the bum and set it under and then set it back down. And let's take the arms and just kind of stretch them as far away from the shoulders as we can and sort of wiggle around on those shoulder blades. And then lay the arms down. See if you notice already a little opening in the heart space. And then let your eyes float closed. Let's let go of everything external today. Whatever has happened or is yet to come this evening. And instead settle into this very present moment, allowing yourself to feel whatever sensations in your body you're feeling. Acknowledging the thoughts and the emotions that are hugging tight to you. And then gently inviting those thoughts, those feelings, and those emotions to simply fade more into the periphery so that your energy is freed up to focus on your breathing. And just watching for those first few cycles, noticing if you're breathing through your nose or through your mouth. Do you feel the breath in your throat or chest or belly or anywhere else? Simply noticing that starting place. And then when you're ready, transitioning into a therapeutic breath. And we'll take our 3-part breath tonight. So let's exhale whatever air is in our lungs. And then we'll seal the lips. So we inhale through the nose, drawing that breath deep into the belly, and then filling the low side ribs, and then filling the upper chest collarbone area. So it's a nice, full, deep inhale. Pause at the top here. Wait until the urge is strong. And then when it is strong, let it all go, either through your nose or through your mouth. You're just allowing the time for your body to sort of deflate like a balloon and melt onto your mat. And then begin again. Inhaling to the belly and the side ribs and the upper chest. Hold as long as you like. And then when you're ready, let it all go. Just feel that sensation of surrender of your body. Allow it to relax the muscles along your back. And then begin again. So you take several more cycles here on your own. After you finish the cycle that you're on, then allow the breath to return to its natural state, whatever that may be. And let's invite the legs to bend and draw them in towards the chest. You can scoop your hands around your thighs, maybe rock a bit side to side. We'll let the body now land steady and neutral and just let the head rock side to side. Invite the shoulders into softness here. They don't need to clench up in an attempt to help your head move. Once the head returns to neutral, we'll leave it there and extend the arms and legs up to the sky. And let's circle the hands and feet one way. And then the opposite way. And then we'll point and flex hands and feet back and forth. And then just wiggle through the fingers and toes. Maybe letting the elbows and knees bend and then straighten as well. Just getting all the joints lubricated here. And then we'll draw the knees back in towards the chest and activate your core so that the legs stay there. And then let's reach both arms up overhead. We can wiggle through the shoulders as we stretch the arms. Can wiggle through the hips like you're wagging a tail if you had one. And then one more time, hug the knees in, maybe just a little closer towards the chest. Breathe into any tightness in your low back. And then we'll set the feet down. We'll take a spinal reset here. So let's lightly activate the core and then extend right arm and leg out long. And then press through your heel, reach through your fingertips. Feel or imagine the breath moving all through the right side of the body. And then return to neutral. Let's take left arm, right leg, extending them out long, inviting the breath in through the entire left side. And then return. And then we'll take it to a diagonal. Right arm, left leg reaches long. See how that feels different, that pull on the muscles along your vertebrae. And then come back to start. And then left arm, right leg. Reaching, reaching, reaching. And then back to start. From here, let's take the feet out wider than the hips, maybe even mat distance apart. We'll let the arms come up and out into a Y position. On the exhale, let's invite the knees to drift over to one side, any amount. And then as you inhale, use that active core to bring the knees back to neutral. And then on your exhale, the knees drift over to the other side. Inhale, that active core brings the legs back to neutral. Go back and forth a few more times, just loosening up the hips, the hip flexors, the whole pelvic region. And then the next time that you roll to one side, just the knees go to one side. Let your whole body roll, and then you can begin to press yourself up and come to a seated position. I like to sit on a blanket that's folded. You might like that as well. Or you could sit on a block if you'd like. Mostly, I just want the hips to be as high, if not higher, than the knees. And then we get the flesh of the bum out behind. So we're sitting just in front of our sit bones here. And inhale, grow tall through the crown of the head. Exhale, let's drop the left ear towards the shoulder. And there's lots of options here to stretch the neck. One being staying where you are. Or we can take that right arm, place it behind the back. So the back of your right hand is pressing into your left hip area. From there, with your left hand, you can even press that right shoulder back a little, feathering it there if that feels good. Or you could also use your left hand to be placed on top of your head and intensify that stretch just a little. And then breathe. Remembering that the breath is the most important part of our practice. If that left hand was helping your head, release it now. And then options, stay right here for a few more breaths, or let your head rotate a bit so it's more like your nose towards your shoulder. And then chin to chest. And return upright. We'll release that right hand. Inhale, let's grow tall again. Exhale, right ear to shoulder. And then choosing from all those options, I like to reach my left hand behind so that the back of my left hand is reaching towards my right hip. You can use that right hand to nudge your left shoulder into a little more lubricating position, or use it to touch your head and extend the stretch. And then we release the right hand if we were using it. And another option is to rotate the head so that nose is towards shoulder. And then chin towards chest. And returning the head upright. And then we can use both hands here behind the neck, maybe interlacing the fingers or at least letting the little fingers be right under that, the ridge of your skull. And you can press in and lift just a bit with your hands and then let your head sort of rest into this hammock that you've created. And it's a very safe way to get a stretch in the front of the neck as you reach your chin towards the sky. And then while you're here, if you invite your elbows further behind you, then you get an opening in the top of the chest and a nice bit of work in those postural muscles behind. And then on an exhale, we'll release down. And let's change the cross. Oh no, don't change the legs yet. Let's hinge forward from the hips first, just walking the fingers forward. Okay, so we're leading with our heart. We want the heart to stay shining forward here. That way we get the stretch in the very low back, hips, and outer thighs. Just walk the fingers as far as they'll go while still keeping your heart shining forward. And then walk the fingers back in. Now we'll change the cross of the legs. Okay, if you need to adjust your bottom so you're right in front of those sit bones, do so. And then we'll take that same motion of hinging from the hips rather than rounding at the waist. That way, as our heart stays shining forward, then we get the stretch in the hips where we want it. And then walk the hands back in. From here, we'll place the left palm or just fingertips onto the floor besides. Inhale, reach the right arm up to the sky. Exhale, take a side bend, just a small side bend here, and then inhale, back off of that side bend a little bit. And then exhale, consider going deeper. Inhale, up a bit. This third time through, now you stay just as deep as you would like here. If you let your gaze shift towards your top elbow, you might be able to then guide that elbow back just a little further behind you so that your chest is truly facing forward, not angling down towards the mat. And then breathe into that right side ribs. And then in slow motion, let that right hand come down and find the left knee. And it can hold there, and your left arm crosses over and finds the right knee. From here, we can actually roll back a little bit on towards our back pockets, drop the chin towards the chest. So now we are rounding the back at the waist. And then as you begin to inhale, come into an arch here, allowing the hands to leave the knees and either touch your shoulders or the palms to wrap. And then the elbows continue to rise as you're in this bit of an arch until they can't rise any higher. And then just let the arms slowly release down. And then we'll place that right palm or fingers over to the side. Inhale, reach the left arm up. Exhale, tiny little side bend. So you know the pattern here. We'll take 3 breaths to land in the shape that we want to breathe into. Maybe glancing at that top elbow, sometimes that helps us to bring that elbow back further and open up that space below the armpit at the front of the chest. And breathe into that space we've now opened. And then slowly let that hand reach down to touch the right knee. Right hand slides over to the left knee. On an exhale, we let the low back round, the chin drop to the chest. Inhaling, we come into an arch as we let the fingers either touch the shoulders or the palms to wrap. Elbows continue to rise, and eventually then we let it all go. Once the hands touch down, then walk the hands behind you from here and plug the palms in. The fingers are pointing away from you. And you just root down through the palms, lift the heart, lift the gaze. Feel those shoulder blades naturally coming in and down towards your waist. And then release a bit so that you can turn the fingers pointing towards you. And then once again, press the palms into the mat. Lift that heart space, lift the gaze. And release. From here, we'll transition into a tabletop. You can set the blanket aside if you were sitting on one, or if you had blocks, you might move them more towards the top of the mat in case we want them there. Okay, and then we'll activate the spine here. So core is steady, and let's take one arm and the other leg. You choose which one you want to start with, reaching them out and up. Either staying here or perhaps taking the limbs out to a diagonal. And then returning to the tabletop. We'll take that opposite arm and leg, lifting, reaching, choosing if you want to take the diagonal variation tonight. And then returning to the tabletop. Now slide the hands forward. Leave your hips stacked. We're coming into a puppy pose here. Letting your forehead rest either on the mat or grab your block or your blanket. And as your forehead presses into a surface, you can consider rocking that forehead just a little bit side to side. Give the muscles there a bit of a massage. For those of you that like a child's pose, go ahead and let your hips sink over your heels and take child's. Whichever variation you choose, invite your breath to move all down your backside, kind of smoothing out any little aches or pains there. And then when you've had enough, you can come back into the tabletop, tuck the toes under, and lift the hips. So we're finding our first down dog tonight. We'll pedal the feet back and forth, very slow motion, very exaggerated. So roll all the way onto the top of the tippy toes on one foot and really press the heel in with the other. And then eventually walk the feet up towards the hands, landing in a rag doll. So knees generously bent, the upper body just hanging from the hips here. So you let your head be heavy, you let go of your arms. Maybe nod your head just a bit or add a little swaying side to side if that feels good. And when you're ready, slowly roll upright. Once upright, simply pause. Notice the sensations you're feeling and notice how your breath is moving. And then we will meet at the top of the mat. And let's send the right leg back into a warrior pose here. So those right toes are angled out, left toes are forward, left leg bent, any amount. You can decide how deep you'd like to go. But shift around until you're sure that you're equally weighted on both feet. And lift just above the kneecaps. Lift the pelvic floor, low belly into spine. And then let the arms sweep up shoulder height. So we can engage the triceps, but let the shoulders be soft. And then if you think of maybe being on a surfboard or a visual there and start to lean forward and back. So we're wanting to create some fluidity in the upper body and yet have that solid, steady foundation of the lower body. So just playing with those dynamics here. And then eventually let's let that back hand reach back and then just touch down on the back leg, and that left arm is reaching to the sky. Gaze looking up at that left hand. Breathing here. And then we cartwheel the upper body around a bit here so that we can let the left elbow or forearm lightly graze that front thigh. And if you send the right foot, the heel in particular, back further, you'll be able to let your pelvis drop down. Creates a little nicer alignment there. And you could let the right arm reach to the sky. If your shoulder's a little cranky, just put the right hand on the hip. If you want more intensity, reach that right arm overhead. Always options. You want to take what's most supportive for your body today, which might be different than the last practice we did or the next one. We'll spin back into the warrior. Let the hands find the hips. And we can just heel toe that back foot in, a few inches or so that we can change the sides here. So now the right toes are pointing towards the small end of the mat. The left toes are angled out at the longer edge of the mat. Right knee bend. Okay. Shifting our weight until we feel equally rooted on both feet. Lifting just above the kneecaps. Lifting pelvic floor. Letting arms reach out. Maybe active triceps, but soft shoulders. And then seeing if you can play with that, with the dynamics there of the flowy upper body with the nice solid lower body. Eventually, your left hand will reach down to the back leg. Right arm is reaching to the sky. And then we'll cartwheel the arms around till that right forearm lightly touches the thigh. And then remember, you have options here. That left arm can reach to the sky, hand to the hip, or the arm reaching overhead, creating that diagonal line. As long as you are breathing. We spin back through the warrior. Let the hands find the hips. that front leg straighten, and then we'll reposition the feet so the toes are all facing forward. A little bend returning to the knees. We'll let the hands slide down the thighs as they press in and the spine is parallel to the floor. We can elongate from the crown to the tail. And then if you'd like a deeper wide leg fold, bring the hands to your shins or let them drop to the floor. We'll put a bend back in the knees, walk the hands to the thighs, and then just either bring your heels in or your toes out so that you're in a wide leg squat. Shift a bit side to side. This gets a little bit different angle of the hamstrings and inner thighs. And then let's invite one shoulder to drop down. And the other shoulder can drop down in front. And slowly return upright. Walk the feet back in. And then once again, we'll meet at the top of the mat. For our balance pose tonight, let's take it's a standing twist. We haven't done that one in a while. So if you like to use a prop, you could use a block in front of your right foot. So we'll stand on the left foot, activate the core, and then set the ball of the right foot on the block. So that's your launching pad if you need it. Otherwise, you just lift that right leg higher so that you are truly balancing. We'll let the arms sweep out so that the right arm is reaching behind, left arm is reaching forward. So this is an active standing twist here. And then we'll unwind. Plant that foot down. If you liked using the block, move it so it's in front of your left foot. And we'll root down through the right. Place the left foot on the block. We're hovering just above it. Activate that core and then let the left arm sweep behind you, right arm in front of you. And then release. Set that foot back down. You can take your block and then just put the block in between your thighs, right above your knees, and plant your feet down. You give the block just a little squeeze as you root down through both of your feet. Okay, that right there helps you to activate your core. We'll take a standing side bend from here. So we'll reach the arms up overhead. Maybe let the palms touch, maybe they just face each other. But as you root down through the feet, reach through the fingers. And then on an exhale, take a side bend to the right. Okay, so the hips are staying stacked over the heels. Squeezing the block helps you to do that. So this is an upper side stretch. See how it feels now that we already warmed up with a seated stretch here. Yeah, keep your core active as you return upright. And then with the next exhale, you can take that side bend over to the left. Returning upright. And then releasing the arms down. You can set the block off to the side. And we'll inhale, reaching both arms up. And then exhale, dive down. Take one last downward facing dog. So feel free to embellish this any way you'd like. If you want to play with your dog pose, or if you want to stay in that restorative zone, just come on down into a puppy pose or a child's pose. Just that little moment of freestyle. What does my body need right at this minute? And then whatever pose you were in, let's all meet back into a tabletop. And we'll thread the needle from here. So on the next inhale, let's sweep that right arm out and up. And then exhale, draw it across the body. You can place that right palm on top of the left palm as a kickstand if you'd like. And then invite that left shoulder blade to come back a little further behind you. So now we're breathing into and softening the area of the back side of the heart. And release. Coming back through the tabletop. Maybe a little wiggle or shimmy of the shoulders and hips before going to the other side. And then with the next inhale, we'll sweep that left arm out and up. Exhale, thread the needle. Stacking the palms, and then inviting that right shoulder blade a little further behind you. And release. And a little wiggle through the shoulders or hips. And then we'll make our way to seated. And if you have a blanket or a pillow or cushion that you'd like to sit on, to give yourself just your hips just that little bit of an extra lift, then that's a great idea. Have your blocks handy, and you can have your strap. So giving the hamstrings a nice safe stretch here. We're going to get the right leg out of the way. So I like to put a block under that right knee and let it bend. We'll let the left leg bend too, but we're facing that left leg, wrapping the strap around the ball of the foot. So that's an arm extender here. So that we can begin to straighten that leg out. It does not need to go anywhere near completely straight. But I want you to feel this in your hamstring. I want your arms to be straight as you hinge from the hips. So now your heart is shining towards that left big toe. So the spine is neutral and upright. And you deepen the breath. And visualize the breath moving wherever you're feeling a little tightness or achiness. So tight hamstrings contribute to all kinds of hip and low back issues. And you don't have to have the legs straight in order to stretch them. Like I've got a little micro bend in my knee, but you could have quite a bend in the knee and you are still stretching that hamstring perfectly for your body. Gently release. Can set the strap down and we'll just reorient the torso so we're facing the space in between the knees here. Still that long neutral spine. Exhaling, hinge from the hips. Just walk your hands out in front, similar to what we did in the warm-up. We've just got one leg bent, one leg straight. Go as far as is comfortable without rounding the back here. So keeping that spine neutral. And then walking the hands back in. This next stretch is called rocking the baby. So we'll take our bent leg, that right leg, one hand on the knee, one hand on the foot, and just see if you can lift that up. And if you can, maybe gently rock it side to side. Okay, gentle outer thigh stretch, hip stretch. And of course, there are options. If you want more, instead of your hands holding on, maybe it's the crook of your arm that's holding that leg. That's going to intensify it. If you choose that option, make sure you can still stay in a neutral spine and not rounded or hunched over. And then after you've been rocking a bit, we'll take that foot and place it, again, two options, because we always want to meet our body where we need. You can place that right foot inside of the left knee or outside of the left knee. Either way, we'll let the left hand or crook of the arm hold on to the bent knee. Inhale, grow tall through the spine, and then exhale, take a little twist to the right. Leave your body right where it is, but with the next exhale, just turn your gaze then to look over the front shoulder instead of the back shoulder. And then unwind, unwrap. We'll do that sequence on the other side. So we're going to let that left knee be bent and propped up on a block out to the side, getting rid of that leg. Right leg bends as much as you want or need so that you can wrap the strap around the ball of the foot. And then we slowly let that leg come a little straighter, as we sit up tall, the heart shining towards that big toe. Breathing into the hamstring as we reach our capacity for stretching, not going beyond what is a comfortable stretch. And then we'll release the strap. We'll reorient our torso so it's facing that space in between the knees. Keeping the spine neutral, we'll start to walk the fingers forward any amount, and then breathing here. Walk the hands back in. Now we'll rock the baby. So we'll pick up that left knee and foot, again, rocking back and forth, deciding if we want to stay here or we want the more intense version of using the crook of the arms. And placing that left foot either inside of the right leg or outside. Letting the right hand take hold of that left knee or the crook of the arm. Grow tall through the spine. And on an exhale, reach the left hand behind. Find a gentle twist here, looking behind you. Now, have your shoulders crept up towards your ears? And if so, let them soften down away from the ears. And then on the next exhale, just let your head turn to look over the front shoulder instead of the back one. And then with the next exhale, we'll unwind, unwrap, and come off of your blanket if you were using one and move it up so that it can be your pillow instead. And put the blocks off to the side there. And we'll lay back and once again hug the knees in towards the chest. And then towards the armpits. And then if you like, take this into a happy baby, reaching the hands inside of the knees to find the outside of the feet or ankles, unhinging the legs halfway, and then rocking a bit side to side. Eventually, we'll invite the soles of the feet to come together, pressing the heels towards the groin. Let your arms do the work so the legs can truly relax and receive this stretch. And then release. We'll set the feet down. And if you have a block handy, go ahead and put it in between your thighs here. We'll play with this for our twist tonight. And then let the arms come out like a T. Now, a little bit different cueing here. I want you to lift your hips and just set them over to the right about an inch or two, and then set them back down. Okay, we're not twisting that way. We're just setting the hips down a little bit off kilter. And then we'll bring the knees in towards the chest and let them drift to the left. From there, maybe you use your left hand to anchor the legs in place and then reach through the right arm. Maybe let your head turn to look over the right shoulder. Otherwise, just look straight up towards the sky, but then let your eyes drift closed here. And once you've found the shape of this twist, and see how little effort you can put into maintaining this shape. How much can you relax and just allow to twist? We'll take one more inhale here. And then activate your core. And on the exhale, roll back onto your hips. We'll set the feet down and move the hips so that they are once again in line with the shoulders. And pause for a breath or two here. And then we'll lift the hips, scoot them an inch or two to the left and set them back down. Bring the knees in towards the chest and then over to the right. You may be anchoring them in place, reaching with the left arm, perhaps tilting the head towards the left. And then when you have found the best angle for this twist, let go of the effort and try as best as you can to simply relax and receive this twist. Then we'll take another breath in and then activate the core and then exhale and bring the legs back in. Setting the feet down and shifting the hips so that they are once again in line with the shoulders. Take a breath here. And then begin to make your way into your relaxation shape. So if you'd like to take pressure off your low back, you could put your blocks underneath your thighs, roll a blanket underneath your thighs, or underneath your neck or head, taking whatever measures you need to find a very relaxed position and supported. Remembering that this is actually the most important shape that we take in this class. So once you've found your shape of relaxation, let your eyes drift closed. Take a deep breath in. Exhaling, let go of your head. And feel it release into the neck, into the floor, triggering a release into the back of your neck, maybe even into your shoulders. And then invite or imagine the skin of your face softening, your jaw releasing, your shoulders softening, a sense of warmth and relaxation traveling down your arms into your hands and fingers. And then feel or imagine that warmth traveling down into your chest and upper back, into your belly and low back, and moving down through your hips into your legs and feet and toes. As if your front body could just melt into your back body, and your back body melt into your mat. And for just a moment, give yourself permission to completely relax. Now you can certainly stay here as long as you like, or if you are ready to end the class with me, let's take another deep breath in. And then on your exhale, let's wiggle the fingers and toes. Eventually bending the knees and rolling over to one side. And pause for a transitioning breath or two here. And then gently make your way up into any seated position. Sitting up nice and tall. And with an inhale, let's reach the arms up overhead. And then exhaling, draw the hands to the heart. And taking with us now a quiet mind, an open body, and a more peaceful spirit. Now, I will be out of town next week, so there won't be a class, but we'll be back in 2 weeks. So until then, I wish you peace.